Welcome, everybody. My name is Lauren Grossman. I am the Communications and Membership Coordinator at IRIS. On the call with me is Dharma Ackman, the Managing Director at IRIS, and also Kevin Bjorn, the Technical Director. So today we are presenting From Campus to Career, Unlocking Insights from the IRIS Employee Profile Report. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and share some slides to begin with. So just a little bit about what we're talking about today. I'm going to share just a little bit about IRIS. I know there's some folks on the call who are new to IRIS. We're going to walk through the Employee Profile Report, which is the newest report we have out, talk about some use cases and resources that are available with this report and with IRIS membership in general, and then open it up to questions. So this call is being recorded. We will share it out after the fact. Please, if you have questions throughout the presentation, drop them in, use the Q&A feature or drop them in the chat, and we will get to those at the end. So to begin with, IRIS was founded in 2015. We are the Institute for Research on Innovation and Science, and we are a national consortium of research universities. We are organized around an IRB-approved repository, and we are dedicated to using data to understand, explain, and improve the public value of research in higher education. So often when people discuss that value of research, the focus is on the discovery or the innovation that comes after years of hard work. But long before those discoveries are made, these investments in research are making other really important contributions. And so we talk about what those are. So when a grant is awarded to fund research, the PI uses those funds to hire people, purchase equipment, launch partnerships with other institutions. And throughout all those activities, there is administrative data that is being generated during those day-to-day interactions. And this can actually tell us a lot about how research universities are really important to the nation as anchors for communities and industries and economies, and also hubs of flow and of knowledge and social connections. So IRIS collects this administrative data from members, cleans it, normalizes it, and then links it with other publicly available and restricted data sets that improve what we can learn from university data alone. So we use this improved data to create reports that demonstrate how public and private research funding does things like creates jobs, strengthens communities, drives innovations, and also we use it to create a research data set. So perhaps now more than ever, it's especially important for research universities and higher education in general to really connect their everyday activities to real-world outcomes and tell a more complete story about why research is worth investing in. And an important piece of this story that IRIS helps universities measure and communicate is about the people who work on research. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So research grants are used to hire these research teams that might ultimately include faculty, staff, postdocs, students, and they gain these valuable research skills. And when they take the next steps in their careers, they carry their skills with them. So IRIS's Employee Profile Report explores the career outcomes of research-funded employees after they leave the university. They're going to describe where research employees go, the industries and companies they work for, and their earnings. So this is our most people-focused report. And before I get into it, I just want to talk a little bit about who's included. So this data represents people who were paid sponsored research awards from federal agencies, state agencies, local governments, so on. And in this report, we include data for research employees that are no longer employed at the university, but they are still working in the United States. And we were able to produce this report thanks to our partnership with Stepping Blocks. This is a company out of Atlanta, Georgia that specializes in student outcomes data. In this case, they were actually able to provide us with employment information that it tells us the things we're going to see in the report. So what I'll show you today is all de-identified. None of the data in this report can be linked back to individual employees. And I'll show you where to find more of that information. And with that, I'm going to open up the IRIS portal. Dharma, thumbs up if you can see the portal. Great. So if you are a member, you have access to the IRIS portal. This is available for members. There's lots of different reports in here. Each member has their own report for their own university. But today we are actually going to be looking at an aggregated report, and this is data from all IRIS members. And this allows us to tell a more comprehensive story and also show the collective impact of research investments and employee outcomes. So if you're a member, you can navigate to your portal, you can select your report or the aggregate report. If you're not a member, this aggregate report is actually also on our IRIS website, so you can go in and navigate this report just as I'm about to do. And so the first thing we see in this report is a map. And this shows the location of all research employees who have left the university and are currently employed in the United States. So the years at the top here indicate when the individuals were employed at the IRIS member universities in this report. So we're looking at employees who worked at the university between 2002 and 2024, and we're asking where are they now. So the data in this report, this was matched in early 2025. So this is actually the most recent information available. So for example, if they were paid on a grant at Ohio State University, they decide to move to Michigan in 2015, but then they moved to Florida in 2022, they will be marked as being in Florida. And so this is the most recent location. So starting at the national level, what we see is a description of the number of people included in this report and their top 5 destinations. So you can hover over states to see each total. And if you're a member, you'll have an additional data point here about the percentage of people that stayed in state. Since we are looking at the aggregate report here, we highlighted top industries. But from this national view, you can also click on a state and drill down to see a county level view. So I'm going to hover. So when you're looking at the county level view, if there are fewer than 5 people in a county, it will be masked for privacy. If there are no employees, it will just say no employees. And the reason we show this as a map is because we want universities to be able to understand, where are their people going? Do they stay in state? What are their top destinations? And this not only tells us which states are attracting research trained people, but also which communities and which regions are benefiting from their skills. So the next chart tells us about the industries where people go after they leave the university. So with this chart, we can see industries hire people with research experience, and we can change the view of what we're looking at. So this lets you filter results by industry and also by employee type. So everyone is classified as faculty, staff, postdoctoral trainees, and students. And other student here refers to those whose exact level couldn't be identified in the data. So if an employee also, if they have more than one classification, maybe they were a graduate student at a university, then they served as a postdoc at the same university, we will use their most advanced classification. So they'll be classified as postdoc. So right away, this report opens to look at undergrads, grads, and postdocs. We can select any additional categories here. And then we can also select up to 5 industries to compare. So next to each industry, there are counts for how many total people are in each of those industries. Other industry, which is often the biggest category, this includes all sectors that had fewer than 5 employees. So rather than have a really long list of sectors that have fewer than 5 employees, we rolled them all up into other. And by grouping the data in industry and employee type, we can see what happens when research and trained employees continue their careers outside the university. So they're carrying their skills with them, filling jobs, powering innovation in these critical fields. We can also see, for example, that in this case, people with graduate level research experience A lot are going into information technology, but we can also change the picture. So if we wanted to look at just one type of employee type, staff, for example, we can see staff who leave the university often still stay in education, but are going more into healthcare. So selecting employees and industries also influences the next chart, which looks at earnings. So we know where people are going, we know which industries they're going into, and now we can figure out how much they are earning as they go into those industries. So again, you can select any relevant combination of employee class and industry that seems interesting or relevant. Because we are including so many years of data, we've presented this chart as a box plot. So earnings are presented with the minimum, the maximum, the different percentiles, and then the median as well. So this helps us kind of navigate any distortions that might come. For example, when you have someone who's perhaps been in their career, they were for a few decades, they were participating in research early on, and now they have more advanced earnings. This still allows us to kind of get multiple views into that picture of earnings. And ultimately helps us understand how different level of research experience may impact the long-term earning potential across different industries. So if you're an undergrad, for example, this might be interesting as well as you're thinking about your future career trajectory. So let's look at maybe like manufacturing, automotive. Let's look at defense, maybe aviation. And so you can see just detailed information for each industry for a particular employee type. And then the final chart here, this shows you top companies that hired former research employees and their median earnings. So this chart is going to show you results for one industry and one employee type at a time, and they are ranked by the top median earnings. And then next to each one, you can see the total count of the number of people that we have with each of those employers. So again, you can change the selection. You can add more categories here if you're interested in, for example, faculty in healthcare. And with that combination, especially, you're going to see a lot of medical universities. And this is because we treat hospital systems as companies rather than universities, just to give a more full picture. And so we've been looking at, this is all national level data. You can also view results for industries and earnings at the state level. So if you click on a state, let's reselect some options here. These first two charts here are going to show you the state-specific results for each of these charts. So again, this kind of gives you a more in-depth look if you want to be able to have a conversation, make some points about workforce outcomes in your state. This tool allows you to do that. You'll see we do exclude the top companies chart at the bottom on the state level view, and that's just because not that many companies can pass the privacy threshold. So we thought it was more useful to focus on industries and earnings. And then if you want to explore companies, you can go back to the national level view. So a couple of features I want to point out about this report is that you can customize this to your heart's content and then download a copy of it. This can be shared within your team, with your leadership, external, included in reports. You can also export each of these charts. You can find a option up here, share report. This allows you to create a link, shareable link, that you could send to someone, for example, if you want them to be able to explore the data in the report, but you don't want to have to create a login for them. This allows you to do a time-limited link to share with them. And then there's the methodology, which includes all of the information about how this report was built, the data behind the matching, the privacy protections that the data goes through, really detailed information. If you have questions about the underlying data, that's a great place to look. And then also with the underlying data is that you can actually download it. So this download data button here on the very right, this allows you to export a set of files that will show you the underlying data for each chart. So for example, this last chart shows you the companies with the highest median earnings, but perhaps if you wanted to know the top companies by total employee count, you could actually look into that data and sort and filter it on your own and pull out different insights from that as well, if you didn't want to click through the different combinations. Also, in terms of resources for sharing this report, if you are a member, you have access to several resources to leverage these insights. We provide you with press release templates, video walkthroughs that do step-by-step how to navigate this report. And you can also schedule a deep dive with our staff who are on the call today, and we will walk you through your reports, all of your reports in your portal, anything you want to look at to help you understand all of the options, the different functions, and also highlight some of the different use cases that are possible. And with that, I also want to go back here to highlight just a few of the use cases that could be used with this report. Again, this is a new report, but just to share some options of things you could do, especially right now, we really want to highlight how research universities really do provide this unique public value in the way that they serve as sources of knowledge and skilled people. And this is coming at a time when the national conversation is really focused on how funding cuts could threaten our ability to attract and retain top research talent. So this report really offers a timely foundation for illustrating how research universities are already rippling through communities thanks to the people that they're trained as they're moving from campus to career. So just a couple examples, that I want to highlight. Government relations teams are one of our biggest user groups at universities. This is a great tool for just highlighting how funded research supports workforce development and innovation. You can incorporate charts, data points, talking points into policy briefs, legislative testimonies, showing how research dollars are translating into skilled talent in critical sectors. Also, at a state level, really positioning the university as a key driver of the in-state talent pipeline, highlighting the percent of people staying in-state, how that kind of connects the dots to regional prosperity, showing that local impact at the county level for your state, and then emphasizing the connection between those research investments, workforce development, and the industry demands that are in particular to your state or the whatever region you are interested in talking about. Also, I want to call out just institutional advancement in terms of alumni relations, donor relations. This is a great tool to see where are people now. And this could be partnered with stories that you pull from your alumni network. They could be turned into targeted donor updates to show how investments have helped launch careers, and just incorporate it into other materials to really promote your impact. So I have a few questions coming in. I'm actually going to pass them over.
Okay, so the question is, if we're not a member but instead support a funder, are we able to see any of the in-depth data / get on a call? The only thing that we can provide so let me start with this. We do not share universities' data with people outside of their university, and they kind of control who has access. In terms of aggregate reports, we're able to provide you a link to the data in aggregate. And if you want to reach out, we're happy to help you after the call. They're also on our website under reports. We usually keep them up to date with the most up-to-date stuff. How do you upload employee IDs? I think this is a Kevin question.
So yeah, I'm wondering about that. So every university has a data contact that we work with. that uploads this data to us on a regular basis. And so this data is extracted from your HR system, and then we merge it with other data that we have here at IRIS. So the employee IDs come from a university's human resources system.
Perfect. There's a question about how we can advise government relations professionals to set up one-on-one training. Lauren, if you wouldn't mind dropping the link to our calendar in there.
Sure.
Folks can self-schedule according to mine and Lauren's availability. Another question is, can you use the reports to compare groups? On this, maybe Kevin, you can answer this one, because I think on this particular report, we don't have benchmarking, do we?
No, we don't. If you were to do that, you would have to access the underlying data through our virtual data enclave, at which point you could access all the micro level data that goes into these reports, and even use the queries that we've built that drive the reports, and then you could do benchmarking yourself. We might even have some pre-built benchmarking queries in place for people to use.
I would also say that benchmarking only allows you to compare to a minimum of minimum of 3 other institutions. Again, because we don't make your data available to other universities except in the aggregate. So we have had folks compare themselves to maybe other schools in the state, if there are enough. Like Texas is a very large state with a lot of universities in our membership, but that's sort of the limits. So I think that is, unless anyone has any other questions.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, for all members, your reports are available and accessible in the portal. You can reach out to us to schedule a one-on-one if you want a walkthrough. Perhaps you have some new staff who've just come on. You want them to get up to speed on the tools they have available to them. We're happy to do that on demand. We will have another report coming out for members next week, another round of a report we released earlier in the year. So the government relations and spending reports will be coming out by the end of the month. And this is another great report that you can use in concert with the employee profile report. It does include information about your current research workforce, the number of students, the top job titles, top funding agencies. So there are a lot of great ways that you can use IRIS reports with each other and then with your existing communications talking points to just build that foundation out and mine it for some really interesting stories that you can target towards government relations audiences, different stakeholders that are important to you.
I see another question. Happy to answer this one. It says, it looks like the aggregate report was for 2002 to 2023, but our report is 2011 to 2023. This is basically a limitation of how much data that you give us. We have data going back as early as 2002. So when you're looking at the all IRIS report, it has data that are inclusive of that date. But if your report's only going to 2011, it means that we only have data from your institution starting in 2011. We're happy to take in more of your data though. So if you want to talk to us about getting that in the system, we're happy to do that.
Yep. Okay.
Oh, this is a good Kevin question. Is there more information about the data sources Stepping Blocks uses? In particular, what federal data sources do they utilize?
There is, and off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly, but I can probably put that together. So if you want to leave your email, we can share that with you.
Did they use any federal sources? I thought they were mostly using job posts, employment data.
No, so they do purchase data from data
okay.
vendors. Yeah.
So Lauren, maybe you want to drop just our contact email in there, and since it's an anonymous attendee, we can't tell who we are, but you're welcome to email us and we'll be glad to answer.
Yeah.
I will add too that if you've received this report and you want to add more people to your portal, we can help with that as well. And we also love to hear how members are using their reports. So if you've already been putting it to work, please share, send us a link. We like to highlight that to help members understand how others are using their reports as well. And we just find that the broader the access, the more meaningful usage members can get out of their reports. And we also value your feedback on reports. So functionality, report metrics, we really try to develop our reports based on the needs of our users. So please let us know what you would like to see there as well. And with that, I think we are at time. So you can always follow up with us if you have any more questions. And thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you again soon.